1, 2, 3.
This is my brand new Montana Knife Company boning knife. Isn't that thing sweet, right? So that's what we're gonna be using today.
So what you can see here, you got the lungs. So we're on the right side of the animal, right? We have the lungs, the heart's gonna be buried in there, and we'll show you how to get that, but you can see the diaphragm right here. So this, beneath that diaphragm, if Joel pokes through that, you're gonna be into the guts.
Right.
So that's the actual diaphragm of the animal.
So like if you're shooting them in the back of the lungs, you're also gonna see guts on your arrow.
Absolutely.
Right? So, cause these things, you know, you've got both your lungs that are like this, and that whole gut sits inside of that, right? So you may have a lung shot, but you may see guts on your arrow. So let's bring that shoulder back.
And Dan, you're right, I was wrong. I was mixing around.
Okay, so let's bring this shoulder back and let's really look at this and see what we've got here, right? So once we bring that shoulder back, like this is an absolutely broadside elk right here, right? Look at this. You shoot this elk right here in the pocket, and the edge of the diaphragm is right here. Through this triangle right here, see this triangle that's formed? Right? This triangle right here, that will center your lungs, but then you're playing with scapula, right? So, like, how far do we have? We know that if we go too low in here, like, that's why we say shoot it at least a third of the way up, if not halfway up the body, just to get this lobe of the lungs. If you guys really look at this, there's not a lot of lungs behind the crease.
No.
And it's not low, and it's not just because this critter is flipped up, right? This is how they sit. So there's not a lot, like if you shoot it like, oh man, I smoked it right in the crease, yeah, cool. But there's a lot, I mean, flip that thing up. The lungs are way up here.
Yep.
So you're talking this, let's use this as our mark.
Yep.
That's like a perfect shot, right? We'd stand just halfway up the body, man, right behind the shoulder, I smoked them. Yes, you did, but you're also really close to not smoking them, okay? So if we flip that up, these lungs come all the way up, way up in the front. But this is all covered with scapula, right? So, I mean, look how far these things go up here. This is the top. This is the very top of it right here. Mm-hmm. This was our mark. This is the back edge of the shoulder. Look at all this stuff that's behind that shoulder, right? So shooting them in that triangle is key, but be careful if you start shooting them behind the shoulder. Like you've only got this much to play with. If this is our mark, so we've got that much to play with, and that's in the middle. In the bottom, if we take that mark, if you don't go through this rib, you're just blowing through guts. You didn't even hit the lungs, right? And our heart is sitting right here. So if I take that rib out, did you guys know that there's joints in the ribs? Yep. So there's joints on the bottoms of the ribs. You can actually take the whole breastplate out that way.
Yep, there's joints at the bottom and at the top.
Right.
The bottom are usually easier to get. So, and then you get the heart to come out. The consumable part of the heart is all the meat that you see there, the big bulgy part. So typically when I'm doing it, I'll take the knife and I will, I just cut it off?
Yeah,
I just leave the major vessels, so the aorta, the vena cava, everything come off of the superior part of the heart, right? We would think they come off the bottom, the heart squeezes and pushes down, but the way the heart contracts, the contraction starts here, and it's like spinning water out of a wash rag. And it pushes everything out the top. So all those major vessels come out of the top. So once I get that heart out, I just literally cut straight down. And now consumable heart.
So heart is sitting right here behind this rib, right? Remember that spot, if you will.
It's like the fourth rib.
Right?
So if you're counting down, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the
So
fourth rib.
Heart's right here in this cavity. It's right here. It's right behind this. So if you hit this humerus bone, whoo, it's pretty rough to get through, right?
Yeah.
If you go right over the top of it, like right there, you're right in the money. but it's not that big. People say it's like 16 inches. It is, but it's covered by a big plate, right? So what are we dealing with? Essentially, you want to shoot them in this triangle, which is directly above and just slightly to one side, depending on which side you're looking at, of that elbow. But the crease is tricky, because if this elk has its leg back at all, you ain't got anything. You have this little piece right here to shoot through. Be careful with it.
Is that triangle, is that all meat? There's no
Right
yeah,
here,
it's just meat.
That's just meat.
Yeah, and I'll bone this thing out for you and show you.
Question for you, since we're doing this here, would you point out the exact spot will give you the most margin of error, up, down, left, or right, and then segue into maybe choice of, I'm not telling anyone at this camp what broadhead to use.
Sure.
I did that last year. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But you can definitely give your thing on margin of error and segue into maybe like cut on contact versus expandable,
Right.
because everyone's going to consider both, and they should.
Yep. So on this, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for you to shoot 1 inch in front of the crease. That's what I'm looking for you to do. Take the crease forward 1 inch. That'll put you in the triangle. It'll keep you away from the scapula. Like this is our scapula here. This is about the edge of it, right in here, right? And then of course you got a front edge of it. And it goes down to the humerus. Humerus is this line right here, right? So as long as this triangle actually gets pretty big and it's just meat, and I've shot through it with 2 blade broadheads out of a 47-pound longbow, right? It's not that big of a deal. But if you're hitting bones, what do you want for a broadhead? There's so many things out there now. I want you to shoot what's most accurate and some that's gonna stay together through bone, right? So Iron Will makes a great one. Silver Flame makes a great one. The Beast broadhead for mechanicals is great. The Grim Reaper Fatal Steel is good. But you gotta be looking at what these things do. Like, will it be able to open if it hits the humerus? And how is it gonna be shoving 3 blades there at a very steep angle through bone? Things you gotta think about. But, so this triangle though, you know, we think it's just this. It's actually all the way to here. It's a pretty dang big chunk, right? But as soon as everybody wants to shoot them behind the shoulder, man, be careful with that. Be careful with that. People say, well, I shoot them behind the shoulder to stay away from the shoulder. Good idea, but man, you're gonna get a lot of green. So, and hopefully you get a liver hit with that. So this should open your eyes up to where to actually shoot these elk. I'm telling you, I'm going halfway up the body and I'm shooting them 1 inch in front of the crease. That gives me the biggest margin of error. You'll cut the aorta on the top of the heart, they go nowhere. Like 15 yards and fall over type stuff. So
2 more caveats I wanted to point out. In a position to shooting elk, if you're solo especially, to where you're gonna have to look at this and see about quartering to. You're gonna shoot an elk and think it was broadside. All of you are.
yeah.
And I promise you it's not. It was quartering to, and that just should open up your eyes even more as to, oh, there's 2 lungs, not 1, right? So can you kind of go over that, Joel, a little
Sure.
as far as that?
So let's go 3D model here for a second. Let's take this knife, and now you think this thing's broadside, but it's not. And you're like, I'm gonna smoke this thing. Turner said 1 inch in front of the crease, and I'm gonna smoke him, right? So if this thing's quartering toward you, and you shoot 1 inch in front of the crease, so if I take that knife, and I'm putting it in there, and it goes underneath that, right? You're getting 1 lung, okay? So if we've got this arrow going in here, you're getting 1 lung and maybe the top of the liver. Liver sits fairly low, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So you're getting 1 lung, maybe liver. That elk's living for a long time.
Yep.
If at all dying, right? So if you do shoot it and it's quartered toward you, you gotta get more up in here, right? So there's the edge of our scapula. Right there is the edge of the scapula. So if you do quartering away, you're gonna have to edge that thing to really get it in there. Or if you've got the leg that's back slightly, right? Then we're going in front of the scapula. Look at all this stuff you got in here to shoot. It's awesome, right? So this quartered toward you shot I am for it, right? As long as the leg is back. And know where that is, because you'll be able to see the front edge of that shoulder. You'll be able to see this. This will be very defined, even through the hair. Put it in front. I see way too many people take this quarter on shot and they shoot it behind the shoulder. And it just goes right into the guts. So be real careful with that. How about front on? So front on, if we were to take this thing front on, we got to get in this cavity right here. Right, so now this is our cavity that we're shooting in right here. See it? This is what you're shooting in. So if you are going to shoot an elk front on, this is what you're going through. Take the head off the body. Like when you're looking at this bull, he's looking at you, just remove his head. But you got to make sure if this bull's got his neck extended, you have to go through a lot of neck meat to get there. And there's a lot of stuff that stops broadhead, so be careful with it. But if that bull's got his head up, there's not much to go through, right? You're gonna blow through the trachea and all that stuff, and it's gonna go right in here. So just take the head and remove it. That leaves you with an oval. Shoot the center of the oval. Okay, don't be trying to, well, I gotta get just over the brisket. Just take the oval, take his head off of it, shoot the middle of the oval. That will get you in this cavity right here, and you see it's not very far. It's only, so that's 9 inches right there. So you have to penetrate 9 inches that far to get to the lungs and all the goodies. Doesn't take that much penetration. So something to think about. On each side of it is nothing more than a rib, but if you get on the outside of that, you're going right in between this stuff here. So if you're gonna be shooting elk front on, be spot on with your shot, make it close, understand where your pin hits, your 20-yard pin hits, where's it hit at 10, right? It shoots a little bit tall. So you gotta be careful with what you're doing with that business. You'll know if you hit them in the brisket plate, because your arrow's not going through that. It just goes dink, and it just dink, sticks there, right? And it'll have like a little lower unicorn.
So height-wise, like if the bull's standing, about how high up, like if you line it up with the body, where would you?
Just halfway. Again, just cut the head off of this thing when you're looking at it. Just remove the head, and it becomes an oval. You know, look at a 3D elk.
Yeah.
It just becomes an oval, and you're going to shoot them. You're going to be up in the mane a little bit.
Okay.
Don't go for the color change. The color change is the top of the brisket.
Okay.
That's the color change.
That's the lower unicorn.
Right.
That's what we're calling it.
Right, right. So don't do that. Don't go for the color change. Just cut their head off and aim in the middle of the oval, and that will put you in this cavity. And it's about, like on this elk, it's that wide. So 3.5 inches wide on a small cow. Bull a little bit bigger, right? But its bones on each side of it are also bigger. Make
So you're
sense?
looking at softball size.
Yeah, softball size stuff, which you can all hit, right? As long as you have your wits about you.
Is there any margin of error?
It can't hit anything, but if it makes it in the V, it's done. Because you've also got the jugular and the carotid notch that comes in, that junction, which is right here. Like when they bleed these elk, they don't cut their throat, they cut them right there. Just cut them right across the front of the chest, and this all blows out. That's when you see those like front on shots where it just like blows out of them, they've hit the jugular or the carotid.